How to optimize for Google Discover. In a recent update to the Google support documents, it is no longer viable to consider Google Discover as a similar SEO optimization path, just like you would optimize your web pages. Google Discover is going to use machine learning to serve high quality content to its users. And this reversal is rather strange because in a previous video, I talked about how you have to have content that has a good EAT score and has high quality images. I can speculate as an advertiser, the reversal comes from a couple of points, likely from advertising. Since there's only a couple of slots on Google Discover and they're devoting some of those slots to advertising, it's very likely there is a small amount of inventory that's available that they want to make sure goes towards advertisers, and the machine learning is probably going to ignore content that just doesn't fit the bar. So it could be a combination that content is not good enough or high quality enough, and also there is a large demand from advertisers to start using Discover. So these two could be in flux, and this is where I speculate Google is dialing it back. But I'll go into some of the points to highlight how Discover works and how you can utilize this traffic. But at the end of the day, this is your on-site optimization, this is your content, this is your communication and how you're selling yourself on Google. And Google is going to meet you with somebody that has that intent and that search history and that desire to discover your service. And that's how the two get paired together through machine learning. So it's fairly serendipitous, but I'll go into that right now. Here are the Google Discover guidelines. They were recently updated by Google and dialed back, but I'm going to read out and call out some of the gist of it. Given the serendipitous nature of Google Discover, traffic from Discover is less predictable or dependable when compared to search and should be considered supplemental to your search traffic. This means that you might create and optimize content to fulfill specific search needs for search engine traffic, but there's no way to create content that explicitly targets Discover interest matching. So if your content is speaking to a set of keywords, you might actually have somebody that's outside of your target market that's searching for different keywords. And that's how the machine learning steps it in, because it knows by different tastes and audience lists that Google is creating to serve better content to you in the Discover feed. So how does content appear in the Discover feed? Well, you have to utilize some of these tactics. So the automated system is going to heavily rely on your EAT score, because to Google, you have to demonstrate expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. If you're already working with an SEO, you're creating content that is going to map back to this. But in order to be considered for Discover, there's a couple of other things that have to be involved. In order to have a good Discover link, you need to have an essence of a title that is not clickbaity. So you have to be very direct to what you're trying to solve in your search intent. Avoid tactics to artificially exaggerate or manipulate users. The Google algorithm can figure out these tactics, and they know what some of these tactics are, such as withholding crucial information instead of presenting it right there. Avoid tactics by morbid curiosity, titillation, or outrage. So you shouldn't be on those fringe to beat a drum to get somebody to take an action to do a direct response. So direct response may be limited here. And then you also have to have content that's timely and it tells a story or has equal insight. So there could be some seasonality to your content. One of our clients has some great Pride content and it comes up only in the summer. So there is some seasonality and there's some highs and lows, and the algorithm is probably going to feed content in. And that's where the serendipitous comes along. You cannot really predict when it will come up, but if it's relevant and there is actual search intent, your content could come up. And you also need to provide clear dates, bylines, information about the author, publications, publishers, company, etc. And this is interesting. They're mentioning authors here, but there's a lot of references to how authors may or may not influence things, and it is questionable to what we're seeing EAT. And then the big one is making sure you have high quality content, and this might take a little legwork because you need to have these right HTML parameters and include that. So this is something that we'll be exploring and working with more to make sure we have this complementary in our WordPress site. But all in all, the Discover feed is a good way for you to get traffic from Google. As long as you're creating compelling content, you will rank for some of that content. So make sure you create content in the first place in order to be considered for Discover. Thanks for watching. Now, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Every day I'm publishing videos on growth hacking, digital marketing, how to be a successful entrepreneur. I really want to enable you to become a decision maker in your own business in the future of work. So if you want to come along with me on this journey, hit subscribe, hit notifications, and I'll talk to you real soon.